Hello, Math 1 Focus students. Today I want to work on, or this video I want to work on changing fractions to decimals, and then the next one will be changing fractions, decimals to percents. But first I just want to do fractions to decimals, and so you might have already seen this. If you haven't, here we go again. Even if you've seen it, let's get this down, right? So I'm going to flip it around here. So let's start off with so I just have a piece of paper and fractions decimals. I did 1/2, then 1/3, and then 1/4 equals, and then 2/4 and 3/4. Then 1/5 equals 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. Then 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. Then 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. A blank at the bottom here, 1/9, 2/9, 3/9, 8/9, and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, blank, 9/10. So let's start off with the easiest thing here, 1/10. And if you can read it, you should be able to write it. This is 0.1, that's 1/10. This is 1/10, that's 1/10. 2/10 is 2/10. So you want to practice saying it correctly, not 0.2, but that's 2/10. And if you can say it correctly, you should be able to write it correctly. And if you can see 2/10, you should be able to write 2/10. 3/10 is 0.3. So what do you think 9/10 is? And I want you to engage here. This is 9/10. All right. So hopefully that's friendly. 7/10 would be, so here, what would 7/10 be? Yeah, that'd be 7/10. Now for ninths, 1/9. Well, here here, and 1/10, here I'll show you. The 1 goes inside, the 10 goes outside, you add your decimal comes up, 10 doesn't go into 1, add a 0. How many times does 10 go into 10? Once. 10 times 10, and you get 1/10. Now how about 1/9? Well, the 1 goes inside, the 9 goes outside. This is your dividend, this is your divisor, your answer is your quotient. How many times does 9 go into 10? Once. You multiply, you get 9. 10 minus 9 is 1, and you bring down your next 0, and you get 1 again. And you can just see it keeps repeating. 1/9 is 0.1 repeating. And so what's 2/9 going to be? Well, yeah, it's going to be 0.2 repeating. 3/9 is going to be 0.3 repeating. So ninths are just like tenths, except for they repeat. And so 8/9 is going to be 0.8 repeating. So very similar, ninths and tenths. And so that's what you want to do. Like here, 1/2. Can you get it to ninths or tenths for your denominator? Well, I can't get it to ninths, but I can get it to tenths. Isn't that times 5? So times 5. And so that's 5/10. And so my decimal is going to be 0.5 or 5/10. That's what a half is. Now a third, I can't get that to tenths, but I can get that to ninths. 1/3 is how many ninths? Well, that's times 3, so times 3. That's 3/9. So what decimal is that going to be? That's going to be 0.3 repeating. 3/9 was 0.3 repeating, so 1/3 is 3/9. So here, I'm going to draw a line here. So what do you think 2/3 is going to be? Here, you do it. Oops, that equal sign's kind of low. Anyways, I can get to ninths. That's times 3. So times 3, that's 6/9. So that's going to be 0.6 repeating, 0.66666 forever. That's what 2/3 is. Right, when you run into force, just think money. On force, think quarters. 1/4 is 0.25. 2/4, that's the same as a half. That's 0.5. You can have the 0 if you want, 50 cents. And 3/4 is 75 hundredths, 75 cents. This is 25 hundredths, 25 cents. And you can have the 0 there if you want. Here, I'll even show 1/4 divided. 1 divided by 4. I'm going to add a couple zeros. How many times does 4 go into 10? Goes in twice. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. I'm going to bring down the next 0. How many times 4 go into 20? 4 times 5 is 20, and the remainder is 0. 1/4 is 25 hundredths. Right? So fifths, when you see, here I'm thinking tenths, here I'm thinking ninths, here I'm thinking quarters, here I'm going to think what? Well, aren't I going to think tenths on fifths? 1/5 is how many tenths? Times 2 times 2, it's 2 tenths. This is 2 tenths. 2/5 is times 2 times 2, that's 4 tenths. That's 4 tenths. 3/5 is how many tenths? Times 2 times 2. It's 6 tenths, which is 6 tenths. And this is times 2 times 2, that's 8 tenths, which is 8 tenths. So when it's half, think tenths. When it's thirds, think ninths. When it's fourths, think quarters. When it's fifths, think tenths. Now here, these are the tough ones. 1/6 is tough. 5/6 is tough. So let's do your division. 1 goes inside, 6 goes outside. I'm going to add 3 zeros. 6 goes into 1 0 times. 6 goes into 10 once. 6 times 1 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. I bring down the next 0. 6 goes into 46 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Remainder of 4. I bring down the next 0. And do you see how you're going to start just getting repeating? And so the 6's are repeating. So 1/6 actually is 0.1666 forever. So you write it like that, 0.16 repeating. Now 2/6 reduces to 1/3. I can divide both those by 2. And then 1/3 becomes ninths. I can multiply both those by 3. And so 2/6 is 0.3 repeating. I don't have to do any long division. This reduces to a half. And so that's 0.5. That's 5 tenths. This reduces to 2/3. And then it becomes 6 ninths. So it's 0.6 repeating. I can make it smaller and then make it bigger. Divide by 2, times 3, times 3. And then here, 5/6. I'm going to actually have to do the dividing. 5 goes inside, 6 goes outside. I'm going to add 3 zeros. How many times does 6 go into 50? 6 times 8 is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. Bring down the next 0. 6 goes into 23 times. Oh, my decimal's right there. And you get 18. And you see how you just start getting 2's again? You get repeating. And so your answer is, your decimal is going to be 0.8, and the 3 keeps repeating. So the bar goes over the 3. Now, I'm going to do the easy one for 8s. This reduces to 1/4. Divide by 2, divide by 2. That's that's 25 hundredths. That's a half. So that's 5/10. And this is reduces to 3/4. So that's 75 hundredths, 75 cents. So it's just your odd eighths, right? And I could do the long division, but here, what if I add a 0 to this? What's half of 250? Isn't that going to be 125? So isn't half of 2/8 going to be 1/8? I can just do it that way. This is 0.125. I could do the long division, but just half of 250 is 125. I could add these. Isn't 1/8 plus 2/8 going to be 3/8? I could put the 0.250 under here and add that up. This is actually 375 thousandths, right? You could put a 0.5 under here. This is 0.625. You could put a 0.5 there. Just add 1 plus 5 and get 6. Here, I'll show you the long division for 7/8. I'm going to add 3 zeros. Or you could just go put a 0.5 under there. Isn't 3/8 plus 4/8 going to be 7/8? The answer is going to be 0.875. 0.875. Here, I'll show it. How many times does 8 go into 70? Goes in 8 times. There's 64. 70 minus 64 is 6. How many times does 8 go into 60? 7 times is 56. Subtract and you get 4. Bring down the 0. And how many times does 8 go into 40? Goes in 5 times. On the nose. And so your odd eighths are 3 digits long and they end at a 5. So here's your, there's only 6 tough ones. Your 1/6 and 5/6 and your odd eighths. The rest are pretty easy. But you can get your 1/8 by doing half of 2/8. You can get 3/8 by adding. You can get 5/8 by adding, or 7/8 by adding. Or you can always do your long division. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful.